the third day of Christmas, namely 90s gave to me 3 Corvettes, 2 drinks of sherry, and Pete in a pear tree.
Welcome to Namely 90s, the podcast that takes you back to the time before smartphones, Google, and Y2K. Join your hosts as they relive the pop culture that shaped a generation and the parts that many people wish they could forget. Listen in to the conversation about how the decade defined those who spent their childhood there and how it shaped them as adults. So, turn down the grunge and dial up the internet. Let's get started. It's time for Namely 90s.
That's right, you're listening to Namely 90s. My name's Andrew, and over there is Brandon.
That's me.
You can find us online at namely90s.com or on Instagram at namely90s with a 90s. You can also find the show on YouTube at youtube.com/@namely90s. And finally, if you'd like to support the show, head over to patreon.com/namely90s, also with a 90s, and get signed up for one of our support levels. And a special welcome to episode 3 of our 4th annual 12 Days of Christmas specials. I always want to say special after that. You don't have to. But anyway, 12 Days of Christmas specials. It's good to be back.
Yes. Merry Christmas Eve to everyone out there.
And speaking of being back, we'd love to welcome our guests and good friends, hosts of the insanely dangerous retro Podshow, Gaz and Dangerous Dave, or as his friends call him, Dange. Welcome to the show.
Hello, happy holidays.
Yes. Happy holidays. Merry happy.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, it's great to have returning guests. We try to get new guests, but of course some of the fan favorites will return for these specials. So we're looking forward to it. Why don't you tell us everything that's happened in the last year? No, I'm kidding.
A lot's happened though.
It's been.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say we returned because you're so good to us.
Oh, you're good to us as well. We have this symbiosis as podcasters since we started around the same time, and we started. What happened? The first year you were guests, and then did I come on for Gremlins that year, or was that the next year?
It was a couple of years ago. It was quite a few years ago, and I think like 3, 4, I don't know why we're Dange. Since it was you that was missing. You tell us.
Yeah.
You fill us in.
Well, yeah, you came on as guests in 2020, and then 2021 you came on because my internet was down. Some idiot drove into it.
Right.
Yes, that was 2021, and then 2022 we did Further Up from the Sun. So, yes.
Yeah, the first year we did this, you had to record, and then we had to comment on your
yes
audio that you sent us. Yeah, it's funny. Last year was the first time that we had both of you live for the recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
The time difference is a bit cumbersome, but here we are.
Yes. Also, just one quick note. I realized, as Andrew was saying, we have a bunch of some of our returning favorites. I was like, I booked all the returning people first, and this year we're doing it in order of recording. So basically they're getting all returning people before getting new people after Christmas. So yeah, tell us about the Insanely Dangerous Retro Pod Show, would you?
Dange, is this you or is this me?
Oh, it's you as always.
Yes. I will keep this short as we only have a 2-hour time limit, and I could take 2 hours talking about it. But the Insanely Dangerous Retro Pod Show is Dange and myself. It's a retro commentary podcast. We like to look back at the 80s and 90s, and each week we have a special subject that we like to discuss. At length. Even Dange is getting as bad as me now, so these shows do tend to go on a bit. But there's segments, and occasionally you'll get to hear producer Buddy pipe up every now and again. Yeah, it's a pretty good show, if I do say so myself. It's got a few friends that keep coming back. So yeah, no, if you like Namely 90s, it's nothing like Namely 90s. But if you like retro, check us out.
That's good.
Absolutely. And then let's see. Yeah, you have Lloyd, guest host Lloyd when Gaz is ill.
The show also features us guessing famous movie and TV quotes with almost a -% rate of correctness. At least in my case, I've never gotten anything right, except like maybe Independence Day or Men in Black or something. Like that was a really low hanging fruit.
Yeah. We started doing something called Quotely 90s after the new year, after the first time we did our Christmas specials, which is when we would send you a quote. Try almost every episode, unless we finish it and then I forget to attach it to the email and then forget to check my emails after sending it. And you're like, oh my God, where's the Quotely 90s? And I'm just like, oh yeah, oops. But yeah, we usually send them a quote, and listeners now know how it works on our show too, because this year you started sending us Quotely's once a month for one of our variety shows, because we changed up our format as well, or we changed up our format to include it, and it's, as Andrew said, we've not been doing well.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's like, this is from the 1991 Scottish rock opera. And we're like, what? I'm sorry, excuse me.
Or it's like, that's not a knife, that's a knife. And we're like, Crocodile Dundee. No, it must be Steve Irwin, Crocodile Hunter.
Well, I mean, we were close. I feel like that was the genesis of that movie, but
yeah. Or vice versa. And then this year you've been on a tear. You did They Live, The X-Files, Wham was your 3-year anniversary special, Men in Black. Oh, Dumb and Dumber, that one really stumped us on the Quotely.
Yes, that one was with Lloyd. He was impressed with how you both looked confused at his impressions, even with the lines.
That was pretty good.
I did tell him he made a mistake, but I just left it in because I just thought it was brilliant. So
there's a particularly awful impression or voice that's done by one of you. What is that? I've never had a chance to ask.
That's Gaz's, probably.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, he explains it.
That one.
That's from, now that is George, the pink hippo from Rainbow.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a huge program over here in the 80s and 90s, and actually beyond. But there aren't many British kids who don't know who, of a certain age anyway, who don't know who George the hippo is. So obviously it doesn't travel very well, just like a lot of other things that I say and do. But it's big over here.
George the hippo. That, yeah, never, not in my life.
You can find episodes of YouTube of Rainbow if you want to watch it. It's great.
Is it more popular than Blue Peter, or is
I'd say it's on a par with Blue Peter.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. To be fair, it's kind of entered into a whole new stratosphere now, where you get people of a certain age are now like messing with it and adding their own voices into episodes and making it like sweary and what have you. And people aren't willing to let it go, even though it's been cancelled several years now. It was that big. It's got a special place in our hearts, even if we rip into it.
It's like lamb chop for us.
Yes.
When you said canceled, I thought maybe he made some sort of racist comment. You meant just canceled from television. Okay.
Yes. 92. It was the last show of that, so they just ended it.
There is that recording from the tour bus where he's. No, I'm sorry. That's something different.
Grab her by the puppet is what he said.
Oh, okay. Isn't he setting up for his next presidential run? Anyway,
unfortunately.
The puppet. No, the puppet.
Yes.
Which works in multiple ways. Okay, moving on. What did we talk about this year? What are we doing?
Well,
where are we?
We could first ask them when their show drops and where to find them.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm always a bit fluffy on this. This is why Dange's here. Not only is he have encyclopedic knowledge of the of quotes from the 80s and 90s, he actually is the details man, where I'm just like the excitable ideas man. So Dange, please take it away.
Well, yeah, we drop every Wednesday, don't we? About 6 o'clock in the morning in the UK time. So I think we have our 2 Christmas specials coming out before the week of Christmas, I would say.
Oh, so right when this drops.
Yeah, one about the music, Christmas music, and one about a Christmas movie, which we haven't decided yet as of recording what the subjects will be yet.
Oh, that just unlocked a memory of me listening to you guys a few Christmases ago when someone said, I feel like someone said they didn't like National Lampoon's Christmas
Vacation. That was
Gaz.
Gaz who said that. He didn't see it at the time. That was the thing. I think he watched it years later, which I can understand why he didn't quite get it. But I was just like, I was just so excited to talk about it all day. And then I got to it and the soul just ripped out of me when he was like, you know what? I don't like it. I was like, what? I can't believe this.
I was wrapping
presents.
Ever since. Yes. I was wrapping presents at the time, and I nearly stabbed myself with the scissors. But I feel like Andrew,
when I was watching it,
I feel like Andrew would join you in that opinion, though.
Of not liking it?
Yes.
I mean, I don't think I've once again seen it in its entirety. It's funny. It's got some laughs. You know, it's a little slapstick. Isn't the uncle with the motorhome? Isn't that the guy that plays Russell Case in Independence Day? I always forget that guy's name. The actor,
Randy Quaid.
Randy Quaid. Thank you. I always forget his name.
He's Dennis Quaid's really weird brother that's on the run from the law in Canada.
Good times.
Yeah. So did we just avoid saying when you guys came out?
No, the Wednesday, okay. 6 a.m.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's what I was...
presumably. And then on anywhere great podcasts are found.
Yeah.
And
Spotify.
Yes. Really, the barrier to entry is fairly low, but it's...
It's always nice on the West Coast because I'll get the little notification at like 10 p.m. while I'm still up. And it's like, oh, new episode of the Insanely Dangerous Retro Podshow is on. Yeah. All right. Where were we?
The holiday special thing. Yeah.
Yes. So as you know, we bring on our guests for us to look back at these Christmas specials. This is day 3. You should already know what we're doing. This is our 4th year doing this. So today we're doing Cheers, Love Me, Love My Car, which is the season 11, episode 11 episode of Cheers. This is halfway to the end of the season, halfway to the final. This is the final season of Cheers. And for those of you who don't know, Cheers is an American sitcom television series that ran on NBC from 1982 to 1993 with a total of 275 episodes across 11 seasons. It was set in the titular bar in Boston, where a group of locals meet to drink, relax, and socialize and hide from their day-to-day issues. It centers around the show's the center of the show is the bartender and bar's owner, sometimes Sam Malone, who is a womanizing former relief pitcher for the Boston Red Sox. And the ensemble cast includes Diane Chambers, Carla Tortelli, Coach Ernie Petuso, Norm Peterson, Cliff Clavin, Fraser Crane, Woody Boyd, Lilith Stern, and Rebecca Howe over the course of 11 seasons. Those are the characters, not the actors. And Ted Danson plays Sam Malone, Kelsey Grammer's Fraser Crane.
Kirstie Alley plays one of those characters.
Kirstie Alley is Rebecca Howe. Woody Harrelson's Woody Boyd. Dan Ratzenberger? No.
Yeah.
John
Ratzenberger is Cliff Clavin. Carla Tortelli was in the Barbie movie, and she was married to Danny DeVito, and her name is Rita Perlman. Did it. Yeah. What else? During its run, Cheers was one of the most popular series in TV history, receiving critical acclaim from start to end. And let's see, it's number 18 on TV Guide's 50 Greatest Shows of All Time from 2002. 2 spin-offs were created, including The Tortellis, which aired from January 22nd to May 12th of 1987, and Frasier, which also aired for 11 seasons.
Let's see, general comments. Norm appears to be gradually dying of a coronary, but very slowly. I've never seen someone with a gray skin tone before. So that was something. What else? Oh, the theme song sounds as if it was recorded onto a wax drum in the late 1800s.
Ooh.
But other than that, it seemed like a serviceable show. I didn't watch this much growing up.
I personally love the theme song to Cheers.
I don't think the theme song's bad. I just wish it was recorded on some sort of modern media that didn't sound so terrible.
Fair. They do have, it might be psychosomatic. You see all the old timey pictures, and then you think, oh, this must be recorded on a gramophone. How about we open it up to our guests? What are your memories of Cheers?
Dange, do you want to start?
Sure. I mean, I remember watching Cheers as a kid. Basically, it used to be on pretty late at night. But I remember, if my parents were asleep, I'd have a TV on that I could just turn the volume down and just watch episodes of Cheers. I used to think it was, again, it's a US show, so anything that came over from the US, we just loved anyway. So I don't remember watching every series, but I remember watching it. I think I remember watching this episode as well when it came out. I want to say it's not the most Christmassy episode.
No.
But obviously you've got the running theme with the ham and the pig and for Woody's dinner, which was quite funny. But the rest of it was okay, it's just Sam trying to get his car back, basically.
Yeah.
From a woman whose husband had died. It's okay. But yeah, Cheers. I remember Cheers very well. It was very popular in the UK, I think, as well.
It seems like it'd be hard for, I don't know why the show would be something you would enjoy, Brandon, maybe as someone, at that age, in the late 90s or early 2000s when it was in syndication. If you watched it then, is that kind of when you mainly watched it? Or
me, I mostly watched it when I was probably mid 90s to early 90s.
Yeah,
I learned how to speak watching this show.
No. Who can identify with the Cheers and the characters on Cheers more than a 10-year-old?
Yes, with the beer and because Ted Danson, very personable character or very personable actor, and Sam Malone is very suave. I've said this before. When I watched, originally, even in syndication, when I watched Cheers as a kid, I only watched the Rebecca Howe years. So, I didn't even know Shelley Long existed until they made that Family Guy joke about Rebecca Howe, or about Kirstie Alley eating Shelley Long. And I was like, oh, there's more Cheers than I remember watching. And then eventually it was just a few months ago this year, because of the new Frasier reboot, I was like, you know what? I want to go back and watch Cheers from the beginning and then watch it into Frasier and then keep going.
I will say you kind of set me up for, I realized the character dynamic changed a little bit, but I expected Frasier to be a lot different. Because you said he changed a lot between the two.
He did.
He wasn't as discernibly different just on the surface level, but
in this episode, yeah.
Sure, but it is late,
Yeah, and they're thinking about setting up the spin-off and all that. But yeah, Frasier, because Frasier starts out as like the straight man and foil to Sam, and then turns. I've said this on our deep dive on Frasier.
In the first season, he had a really thick like New England accent, right?
Well, he didn't show up until the third season, but yeah, totally. That's exactly what it was. Our previous Christmas special was the Frasier episode, which I guess we did backwards. So, enjoy that, listeners. But yeah, the rewatching Cheers in the last year, it's just kind of like, I understand why this was like comfort food TV. Why it was the most popular show for the time that it was on. It was just like going to a bar with friends, and then friends took over, and they went to a coffee shop. What about you guys? You seem a bit mum on Cheers.
I think you already talked.
No, yeah, I'm making a conscious effort not to take over. So yeah, no, I love this. I absolutely love Cheers. It's a thing where like it doesn't matter what school that I went to, everyone loved it. It's one of those things you couldn't get away from it. It was fantastic. Like, and Dange and I always say it's like a show catchphrase now. American programming came over at a certain point of our lives, we gobbled it up. And from the theme tune to the characters, and even the cast as well. There's a little something for everyone, and it just depends what you like from a TV program. This was excellent, and like Brandon, I decided, you know what, I need to go back and watch it from the beginning. I remember watching a lot of the content from the first 4 years, and then just as I was about to start season 5, going onwards, all 4, which is Channel 4's streaming service in the UK, then decided to get rid of Cheers.
Oh no!
So I hadn't actually seen. I didn't actually get to rewatch. I didn't actually get to rewatch season 5 onwards. So yeah, that was a bit frustrating. Luckily, Dange helped me out, and I managed to watch the Christmas special. But I must have taken in so much of this. I must have watched so much of it that actually very little of season 1 to 4 was of a surprise to me. So much of it had been retained on the fly paper of my mind that I obviously must have loved this as a kid. I don't remember watching it that much, but I must have been addicted to it.
No, I was exactly the same way. I was like, once I hit like season 6 or 7, I'm like, I remember every single episode onward. And then it wasn't a surprise when Sam sold his Corvette and then tried to hustle a widow out of the Corvette days after her husband died.
That was a huge shock. This is a huge shock for me. I got a little bit of sitcom PTSD from this episode, actually.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay. Well, should we get into the episode?
Let's do
Far
it.
Away.
All right. Love Me, Love My Car is the 11th episode of season 11. And it aired in, I'm going to say, 1992 of December. And it starts, after a while, they start, or kind of from the beginning, they would do like an opening bit, then do the title sequence, and then the episode would start. So like this opening bit was, there was a Salvation Army guy out in front of Cheers, trying to ring in the bell. Do you guys have that over there? Is that an American? Okay.
Yeah, in the biggest cities.
And Sam walks up and basically uses the guy as a therapist, unloading everything that's happened at the bar over the last 11 years. And then you see Frasier arrive, and then they do a jump cut, and Sam's still talking to the guy, and he just finally gets to Rebecca burning down the bar, and him trying to having to pay for it with his Corvette, and Frasier's leaving the bar at this point, which is strange because Frasier stays there for a very long time. And now I'm talking like Frasier. No. Bad habit. And then we get to the title sequence. Which again, one of the best, like late 80s to early 90s, best like sitcom intros or songs. Andrew likes the staring coyly at the
it's like
camera.
A candid shot, and then they look at the camera, and their name comes across the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of like an 80s action thing, I feel like.
I mean,
the A-Team or something.
Yeah.
I feel like Family Ties did it.
And there's always the thing where it's like Sam, and then in quotes, Sam Malone, where like their middle name or nickname is just basically their name. Anyway, so then it goes back to the bar, right? And then there's a micro pig that Kirstie Alley's character is doing stuff with.
Oh, so Woody gets sent a Christmas ham from his yokel parents, and we all think, oh, he was sent a round of ham that's been processed and honey glazed and ready to be put in the oven. No, it's a live pig in Sam's office. And he's like, oh, I left it in your office. And Sam's like, is it going to keep in there? And then he opens the door and the pig runs out. And Woody's like, it should be fine unless some city boy lets him out. And yeah, there's a bunch of jokes about the pig. I don't know. I liked what are you going to do with the pig? And she's like, cover it with a little honey glaze, maybe add a pineapple. And then the pigs are smarter than people in Woody's hometown.
I would like to say anyone who can kill something that cute to eat it and for such a lack of meat at that size, a little suspect.
Yeah. I mean,
although I did make a joke in a restaurant recently because we have a lot of people with food restrictions at my new workplace. Mm-hmm. And I told them that I only eat veal.
You are Italian. That pig's not the type of pig that you would kill to make a ham with, right?
No. Also, the ham would be like a drumstick,
right?
At that size.
Well, I mean, I guess he only has to feed the two of them, him and his wife Kelly. But
to be fair, it is a late season of a show, and I do feel like the introduction of some sort of cute animal like a monkey or a pig either happens at the very beginning of a show, mm-hmm. or when they're trying to get traction, or at the very end of a show when they're just grasping at straws. And I feel like that's where we are here.
That's the proverbial shark that they jump.
Yeah.
This was them jumping the pig. Yeah. So backstory: Sam had to sell his Corvette to buy back the bar, or he sold it when I honestly don't remember. It was either when he had to buy back the bar or when Kirstie Alley burned down the bar.
My question to both of those is: how expensive is this Corvette, and how cheap is this bar?
It's 90s money. It's 80s money. And he had some insurance, but I think,
deductible. Let's say it was the deductible.
Yes, probably. There's a whole plot thing where at the end of season 5, when he gets left at the altar by Diane, not left at the altar, whatever. Frasier gets left at the altar. She just leaves Sam forever. He sells the bar, wastes all his money sailing around the world, then has to work for a corporation for 3 years at the bar, then buys it back for cheap. Kirstie Alley then burns down the bar at some point, and I already went through that. Where was I going?
Someone Susan, talk. The lady, a woman comes in who's just been widowed, and her husband is the person that Sam sold the Corvette to. Mm-hmm. So now he sees this as his opportunity to get it back. Although, first of all, she seemed really put together for someone who just lost her spouse. And also for like most of the episode, I kept thinking it's going to be like her dad or something. Because what did the guy die of?
Heart attack.
Oh, it just seems awfully young to die of a heart attack. So I was thinking it was like her dad or something, but no, it was they never said anything otherwise than it was her husband, which is interesting.
Yeah,
which makes this all the more creepy and kind of predatory.
And he if I remember correctly, he was a barfly at Cheers. So like, or not like maybe a barfly, but he was a patron of Cheers that he sold it to. So it's like, it's a little creepy. But the actress for the widow, Dana Delaney, has also voiced Lois Lane in a lot of the DC animated films, and she was Andrea Belmont in Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. If that means anything.
Thank you for those references. Those didn't help at all.
It was the Batman the Animated Series movie. Anyway,
okay,
she was the Phantasm. So Sam gets a scummy idea to hang out with the widow so we can lowball her to get the car back. Then we cut back to more Christy Alley, Woody Harrelson doing stuff with the pig. Ripped to the max, Christy Alley. And Woody Harrelson, absolute treasure. Like wasted in these final seasons of Cheers. He's just there to be like dumb.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah.
I thought he was quite typecast after he came out of Cheers, the end of Cheers. He was always playing the same character.
Right.
I found.
I agree. And yeah, they just needed to replace Coach, the guy.
Yeah. Coach was a great character.
Is this around the time in the episode where he's like, "Let me buy you a cup of coffee," and then he just like pours her a cup of coffee from a like. It's your bar. Do you really have to buy her the cup of coffee, or can you just give her the cup of coffee? And then no one ever, in movies and TV, no one ever touches the drink. They pour it, they have their conversation, they leave. No one ever touches the drink.
This aggravates me on a level that you wouldn't believe.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, the good one is when someone just like, it's like a glass of scotch and they just like down the whole thing after saying something poignant. It's kind of like the mic drop, but generally they just don't touch it.
And that's more common these days in multi-camera or not single camera sitcoms, because you have to do the same take over and over again. So they don't want to like get full over the course of a day drinking or eating the same thing. But I have to say, in Cheers, they will pour you a super heady beer, like half the pint glass is foam.
One thing that always drove me nuts, I have to say, this is totally it's kind of related. Is we used to watch the show NCIS, like when that first came on. I don't think anyone watches it still, but anyway, the thing that always drove me nuts about that is they always had coffee cups, and they were always clearly empty, and they never acted as if they were full. And I'm like, can we just put something in the cups so that they're weighted? Because this is like driving me crazy. When people drink coffee on screen and clearly it's not hot or present at all, it just makes me crazy. Like, come on, guys. I mean, it is CBS though.
Kind of CGI that steam in these days.
You've never watched soap operas in the UK then, because they're always drinking their pints and alcohol in the pubs in these shows like Emmerdale. That
all the time.
Yeah,
I understand the reasons why they don't actually drink liquid, but it just seems like someone would design a weighted cup so it looked realistic on camera.
Well, it makes sense. Like a daytime soap would you can drink because you do like one take per, and you also
these people are kind of being a little bit. I think they're being divas a bit. They're like, oh, I can't have that much apple juice today. Like, okay, calm down, because it's never like actually brown liquor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree. If you're drinking something, you can keep drinking it, but like having to do like a food scene, if you just keep going ham at the food.
How about the one, the X-Files, where David Duchovny eats an entire piece of sweet potato pie every time he asks like the diner owner a question? That's one of my favorite episodes, by the way.
Is that a reference to Twin Peaks?
It might be.
Huh.
I don't know. Anyway, sorry, that was a big diversion or
I like how Gaz and Dange are just sitting back and like, we'll let these two waffle on and see how they like it.
I'm just waiting for my chance to be able to say George Wendt drinks all the time. I don't know why, but when I was watching it, I kept paying attention to Norm, and actually Norm, his beer, each shot it will go to him, then back to Sam, then back to another character, back to Norm. His glass will be at different heights. So George Wendt is just like knocking back these drinks all clearly, and they keep having to. He is like George Wendt is actually Norm.
It's a show called Cheers. You should be able to drink at the show.
It was his contract, wasn't it?
Probably.
I can drink my alcohol in the show.
It's just it seems to be going in reverse though. It's never like it goes back to him, it's slightly less. It goes back to him, it's slightly less. It's always in the reverse. Like he's got hardly anything left. No one feels his drink, and then it goes up to halfway, and it goes back to him, and it's like it's full again. It's like the guy must have been packing it away.
Yeah, that must be actual beer, right? Or at least because it's foamy, like it's at least pressurized. Like,
I did read this. I don't think it is technically. It's certainly not alcoholic. It's technically not beer. It's like it's even they designed it to not be particularly palatable.
And he just keeps packing it back.
Wouldn't keep, but lovely. It's kind of like the Joey thing. It was like, meat good.
It's probably like lemonade with like dish soap in it or something.
It's something like that. It's not supposed to be particularly nice tasting.
Ugh. That brought me to the next point. Norm keeps trying to get a free round of beer because he keeps trying to early celebrate that Sam's getting his car back, and then he keeps getting shot down because like no it's not back yet, and then Cliff keeps commenting, you went a little too early there, didn't you, Norm? And then Frasier tries to reason with Sam about not emotionally manipulating this woman into giving him his Corvette back. Carla offers to lend some kids to go boost it from her garage. And I don't know why I have this in quotes, but I have that is one screwed up broad.
that was said. Is that by the Rita Perlman's character?
Yeah.
Yes. Which
Kirsty Nix basically takes the pig and runs off with it.
That's what it was.
I think it's funny though that Sam tries to get Susan, right, to sell him the car, and his offer is $10,000 over 10 years.
Yeah.
Which there's several things that are funny here, which is $10,000 seems doable. Even like if you had $10,000, couldn't you just go buy a Corvette? I mean, if that's what they're worth,
back in the 80s,
yeah,
or 90s.
and also $1,000 a year. That's pretty funny.
Over the next 10 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. $10,000, 10 years. So it's like not much.
But the fact that he thinks he's gonna keep his Corvette for that long, he had his Corvette for that long too, because it's like it's an older model Corvette.
Also, she would hold the title for those 10 years, so he really, truly, it would not be his car again for 10 years. Owner financing.
Yes, and he finally gets her to agree to that, and then Woody just does the Woody thing where he's just completely honest and genuine, not realizing that Sam was scheming, and then Sam tries to, or the widow gets in a huff about being manipulated by Sam because she's human. And just gives him the car keys and gives him the car. And Sam tries to congratulate himself, and no one else in the bar is having it.
You're a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not really had a conscience since Diane left 6 years ago, is what I noted. Even though like his arc is to slowly become a better person over the course of 11 years. But then they undercut it in the 11th season and just say he's a sex addict, and that's how he's going to reform. Yep. Andrew's eyes went wide there. And then he keeps accidentally scratching the car now. And Frasier's like telling him he's subconsciously trying to destroy the car over his guilt. And also just need to take time to point out Frasier with a beard, Kelsey Grammer with a beard.
Yeah.
Looks good on him. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Takes away from the fact that he was balding at an early age. Let's see. The Woody's dad calls. They have Carla has a fun phone gag where they're like, turn the phone right side up and all that. Andrew just didn't enjoy it.
Like my threshold, I guess the bar I set for humor is fairly low, and that just didn't get there.
I think it was funnier when Woody comes up and does the same thing with the phone.
Sometimes the repetition is good. Yeah.
Yeah. But the pig apparently made it all the way back to Woody's hometown. And then that inspired the movie Babe, Pig in the City. Let's see. So Sam, the main plot moves forward. Sam tries to visit the widow at her place of work, because that's what you do when you're racked with guilt and over manipulating a woman. And she's a kindergarten teacher. And
he's financially taking advantage of her. She makes $22,000 a year in 1992 as a school teacher.
And this is also a time when people could just walk on to any school premise without having to check in anywhere. And a lush bar owner. Oh, hold on. Sorry, he doesn't drink. He's been sober the entire series except for when he wasn't. She's about to forgive him, and because he apologizes, he genuinely feels bad, so he apologizes, and then he's about to be forgiven, and then she's like, "Wait a minute, no, people have been doing this to me all my life. No more. I'm not going to accept your apology." And that's where the story ends. No. So he offers to give her market value for the Corvette, which apparently is more expensive. I mean,
the thing is, doesn't that mean he had the money all along? No, he still wants to make payments. I'm like, this guy's a scumbag.
Oh yeah. I mean, the only thing is, like, she, in his mind, because he's very much in love with this car, he's like, she's not going to treat it right. I'll just take it off her hands. It's my car. No, that's a scumbag. Sociopath.
All of the above.
Anyway, but this is where you see his redemption arc. He goes into the classroom and says he's not leaving until she accepts his apology. And
so you mean he's forcing his will on her? Yeah, that's where his character turns around. Yeah, cool.
But he's willing to go into the doghouse. They have an actual doghouse, like,
that is pretty funny.
In the classroom, because that's where you go when you've been bad, and when you're a liar, you're bad. I do have to say, great delivery from Ted Danson when they go into the classroom. The kids have been put in quiet time for 2 minutes for some reason. And he's just like, "Oh my God, what did you do to those kids?" So he stays the whole day in the doghouse. She gives him the car for market value. And then she's like, "At least you didn't go after the boat." And he's like,
he had a boat?
Kirby had a boat, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah, he had a yes, that's what he said. He had a boat. And then that's where the episode ends.
I quite enjoyed him talking to the kid as well when he was in the doghouse. He's like, "This is really stupid. It's made of cardboard. I could get out of this whenever I wanted to." The kid's just smiling at him.
Great delivery.
Yeah.
Oh boy. This is my only interaction with this character, because I've never seen Cheers before that I remember. I mean, I've probably seen it on TV, flipping channels or something.
Mm-hmm.
Not a great episode if you want to like this character.
No.
Not a great episode for Christmas either.
No, I could have done without the pig, which is the only really holiday-ish part of this episode.
Yeah.
And the tag at the beginning where the Salvation Army guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing says Christmas more than taking advantage of a recently widowed woman. What?
Yeah. Unfortunately, this was the only Christmas episode of Cheers that aired during the 90s, so this is what we got.
Yeah.
I think by this time, though, it's Ted Danson seems to have, like, from like the earlier stuff that I'd seen. Obviously, this is like a jump of 7 years. But like Sam Malone, he seems to have gone from Mayday Malone to, I was going to say Jack Holden from Three Men and a Little Lady, but he's not even that. He's almost, at times, he's almost playing the vicar from Three Men and a Little Lady, but without the prosthetics. It's like, he just seems so different. He doesn't seem as likable. I find him so much more likable in the earlier years. And you know how you mentioned earlier, Andrea, you mentioned earlier that, this is like, this is season 11 jokes. I find it's also the same with the money. It's like, money doesn't need to make sense now. It's season 11. I think this is the same with Sam. It's like, we don't need to like Sam anymore. It's season 11. Would you like to see my awards? It's it felt a bit like that.
Hey, this Frasier guy, maybe you'd like to see a TV show about him.
Well, I mean, the Clinton years had just started, right?
Sure.
So,
yeah, that's true. It as Sam stops being a poon hound in like season 10 or 11, he loses that charm a little bit.
Wow.
Which is weird. More thoughts, final thoughts on the episode?
Well, like I said, it gave me PTSD. Cliff, he's aged
Cliff
significantly.
Oh yeah,
he kind of made me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit. He went from someone that I can relate to looking like my grandfather in 7 years, and that was awful. It made me realize that if I haven't seen someone after like 5 years, I never want to see that person ever again. It just.
Well, how about any comments on his updated postal worker uniform? Since you did the jump, or did you not notice that?
I didn't know. I kept an eye out for the socks. Obviously, that's the first thing that I saw. You know what? I'm sure it was different, but I don't.
I guess
did you notice any differences?
They didn't do a full body shot. It's 10 or 11. Season 10 or 11 is like the 90s. They refreshed the postal worker uniform, and they're like in the United States, and they're like, Cliff has been wearing this like light blue postal service uniform for the run of the show, and so they made a whole episode about him like not wanting to upgrade his uniform, and honestly, better episode than the one that we saw.
I remember that episode.
Yeah. And then he's now wearing like a more dark blue uniform that was worn in the 90s for postal workers. And
it has convenient pockets for your firearms that you might need for your work day.
The logo looks more like a eagle, but
they're finally replacing those mail vans from like the 1920s that they still use.
Yep.
By the way,
and now they're replacing them with like Amazon vans, or UPS truck.
As far as this show goes, when you guys had to cancel our recording last time due to illness, my first question to Brandon was, "So you mean I watched Cheers for nothing?"
that was
I watched it as well.
And then I think I said somewhere along the line, I have zero intention of watching this show.
Well, and then yesterday you were like, wait, didn't we already record the Frasier episode?
Yeah, I don't know.
Cheers. We're watching Cheers.
It's not that I don't like, I wouldn't like it. I have such a backlog of things to watch that there's just no way I'm going to be watching this. So it's nice to know it exists, but this is it for me.
I think it really, it is a slice of pop culture for that time period, and it really shows what sitcoms were like and what the golden standard was.
It's better than Married with Children, I'll put it that way, as far as the cringiness of the jokes.
Yes, but yeah, I mean, this was pre-Married with Children, though, wasn't it? It was like,
well, it came on before it, but they were contemporaries, I believe.
Married with Children, I think, started in 87, I think.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's right.
Remember we watched Married with Children, and it was like, boy, these jokes aren't going into the 90s very well.
Yep. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, Gaz is right, though. I think the first 4 to 5 seasons are better than the other seasons, maybe.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. The Shelley Long era, it was better than the Kirstie Alley era, but
yeah,
it improved or maybe made Sam's character worse without Shelley Long to annoy him all the time. And
possibly, yeah,
and be an object of his sexual desires in the workplace.
Yes.
Yeah, also doesn't hold up that in that regard either, Andrew.
Great.
But then couldn't you say that his her being an object of sexual desire for him does actually end up working against him quite a lot? And actually Shelley Long, Diane actually does end up on top of the situation quite often, which is something that used to get in older sitcoms, whereas like you'd see undesirable behavior, but instead of going, oh no, we can't possibly put this into, like, you know, we can't air this again, this is terrible. Instead we'd go, oh dear, bad behavior, you know what's going to happen, and then someone, the object of the bad behavior, would then get their own back, and that person would be sat down. It's like, okay, no more sexually harassing someone.
Yeah, this episode should not have won with Sam ultimately achieving his goal. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And getting off scot-free, basically.
I think season 11, they just ran out of ideas and jokes and just went, let's just do anything.
I believe that really in the writer's room, there is a hat with various ideas in it. And one of them is a monkey. One of them is a micro pig. In the 80s, it was like, never mind, I can't go there. But it's contemporary now. A little person with a cigar was a thing back then. Yeah. Anyway.
All right. I guess that's it for this holiday edition of Namely 90s. Thank you to Gaz and Dange of the Insanely Dangerous Retro Pod Show for coming on. Can you let our listeners know where to find you once again?
Well, that would be in all good streaming sites. Dange, actually, I'll just pass this over to you because I clearly lost my mind. And
yes. We can be found on X, formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram and TikTok, and we're on Spotify, Spreaker, and any other good platforms. Amazon Music, for some reason we're on there. I think we're also on Audible as well, which is weird.
Nice.
We are everywhere. We are everywhere. We are everyone. We are everything. We are watching you. You cannot get away from us.
Thanks for staring them.
Yes.
And if they wanted to find you on socials?
Yeah, X, Instagram.
Oh, you said that.
TikTok, yeah. Facebook.
Why is my brain deleting?
Yeah, you cannot remember anything today.
Yeah. And I might have a Bluesky code for you guys in a few weeks. As always, find us on Instagram and YouTube at Namely90s with 90s and tell us how your holidays are going. If you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Namely90s, also with the 90s. And finally, you can contact us through our website, Namely90s.com, but not really. Please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Corvette, Deezer, TuneIn, iHeart, Good Pods, and wherever you get your podcasts from. I'm Brandon, that's Andrew, and thank you one final time to Gaz and Dange from the Insanely Dangerous Retro Pod Show, and we will catch you tomorrow for day 4 of the 12 Days of Christmas Specials 2023.
Someone next door sounds like they're building a shed in their kitchen.